Hey everybody, welcome to the Best Life channel. I have finally gotten a chance to come back and to do part 3, which is the last part of Life is Not a Fairy Tale. And just to recap, since this is the last video, and I hope everyone goes back and watch part 1 and part 2. But just to recap really quickly, we talked about why life is not a fairy tale and how to develop your plan for life. In order to be successful, the 3 things that you need to have and to work on is your plan. And you need to work on your motivation and being resilient. And what was the last one? Oh, and relentless. Resilient and relentless are together. So in video 1, we talked about how to develop your plan, all the steps you need, and just gave a brief overview. Part 2, we broke down how to truly develop a plan and the steps to that. And then the last one today, I'm going to talk about motivation, what it is. I'm going to talk about how to be resilient and become self-reliant. So let's dig into it. I have my little notes laid out today because it was so much that I wanted to talk about, especially with motivation. Motivation is something that that we look at as an external force, but we really have more power than we give ourselves credit for to motivate ourselves. So remember in part 2, we talked about, you come up with your plan, you do your steps, discover who you are, connect, study, and all these things to develop your plan. And then once you have your plan, you have to be motivated to see it through. So motivated is being able to get up, get out, and work your plan. So what do you want to be motivated about is what you have to think of. So if whatever you're gauging yourself to work on, you should be motivated to achieve. If you're not motivated to achieve it, okay, first, you got the wrong plan. If you don't feel passionate at all about this so-called plan, it's the wrong plan. So you need to go back to part 1 and part 2 and redevelop your plan. So by the time you make it to this part, the motivation part, this should be a little easier. So if you're passionate about something, you want to see it through, you want to work it, right? So what do you need to be motivated? First of all, you got to gauge where you are with your motivation. So think back to some times that you talked yourself out of something. Think back. How many times have you talked yourself out of something? What was it that the inner voices in your head were telling you? And why did you believe those voices? So you gotta really, really hone in on this to overcome some of the lapses that you can have in motivation. Because you all know when you start anything, the first couple of days, a week, you're motivated. But in week 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, when you're not seeing the results that you want, it's real easy to talk yourself out of it. It's real easy to say, this is not working, I'm going to give up. This is not going to work. I kind of knew it wasn't going to work and give up. But motivation is getting past that inner voice that's saying give up. So how do you do that? So here are some key things to know about motivation. Motivation is silent. It's really silent. It's silent. It requires mastering your mind because remember, your mind controls your matter. Mind controls all matter, actually. So here are some key things to know about your mind. If you want to really learn how to master your mind, if you guys saw me on my Instagram, I posted this book on my Read Something Challenge. This book is really, really good. It's by Dr. Carolyn Leaf, and it's called Switch On Your Brain. And it features the steps to doing a 21-day brain detox. So what this does, this teaches you how to stop negative thoughts from entering your mind. And let me just read some few key things that she says in here. We can observe our thoughts and actions and make decisions about them. Did you know that? You can observe your thoughts and your actions. So you are not at will to what the voices in your head tell you. You have the power to cut them on and cut them off. You have that power. Note this, we are directly responsible for what we choose to think about and dwell on. So So if you have these nagging voices in your head all the time telling you stuff, you're constantly having an inner conversation in your voice, start monitoring that conversation. What is that conversation telling you? You have the power to control that conversation in your head. Isn't that beautiful? Oh my goodness, it is. So we have the power to choose what we think about and dwell on, and we make these decisions in the privacy of our own thinking. As you think, it is important to make a distinction between who you truly are and the person you have become through toxic thoughts. So those voices that are telling you, you can't do it, this is too hard, I don't feel like getting up, I'm not going to do that today, I'm not going to work on that today. You have the power to get those thoughts out of your head and press on towards your goal. I think that's amazing. I mean, it's not going to be easy because you got to remember, you've been formulating this toxic thinking pattern, and we all do, this toxic thinking pattern all your life. Like, nobody tells you when you're a teenager or when you're in your 20s, or nobody told me, you can control those thoughts. Nobody told me that. So we have the power to control everything that our mind, because this is another point that we got to be clear about. The mind is separate from the brain, okay? The mind is connected to your soul, and your brain is just the muscle up here that's working out what the mind is saying. So before it even makes it to the brain, because every thought in your mind produces a protein in your brain. And if it's a bad or negative thought, that's a bad or negative protein that produces in your brain. If it's a good thought, it's a good positive protein that produces in your brain. So I know you guys probably heard me say in part 1, every thought produces energy. So that is the beginning of the energy. So every thought in your mind starts producing energy in your brain, and then it releases into the universe. So you absolutely have to control your thinking. Get control of your thinking. And eventually, when you start saying, wait a minute, there's that negative thought, I'm pushing it back, out you go. And eventually, it becomes easier. Because we are not prisoners to our mind. We just can't let this mind just roam up and down the street, just whatever it feels like telling us, we just gonna believe it. We can't do that. We've got to train that mind to be connected to that spirit in us and let it work as a harmonious unit. And if you do that, you will continually be self-motivated. Because you have the power. Remember that. You have the power, which is an amazing, amazing thing. And so once you start working on that, just get this book, 21-Day Brain Detox. Do it. It's like in part 2 of the book. Do the brain detox, and you will find that you will be motivated to do anything. Because this book gives you so many steps on the power, that you have within yourself. I know you all hate to read. I know that. But to get to that next level, you got to just press on toward the goal. You got to keep going. And so sometimes it requires reading some things. Because everyone's not going to tell you everything. A lot of hidden facts and hidden fascinating facts are in books. So this is one. How to make this mind do what we want it to do. Because once we get this brain, I said mind, but really the brain. Once we get this brain program to work how we want it to work, the body's going to fall in place. So then it won't be hard to get up in the morning. It won't be hard to sit down and start working on your book for 2 hours. It won't be hard to sit down and do your Bible study for an hour. It won't be hard because this body's going to start doing what this brain is doing. And this brain is going to be connected to this mind that's connected to our spiritual self that's on a mission. See? It flows. It's a step. So, okay, last thing before I keep ranting on. Motivation requires repetition. Motivation requires repetition. Whatever you want to be motivated to do, keep on doing it. Keep on doing it. Make yourself do it. Make yourself do it over and over and over again. Repetition, repetition, repetition. And the next thing you know, you got it. Okay? So that's motivation. Gauge your motivation. Start thinking about some times when you gave up on some stuff and try to remember back. Okay, what was I thinking? What happened? Okay, now, how can I stop that from happening going forward? Okay, so this is the thought that I had at that time when I gave up on going back to school. This is what I was thinking. Okay, I don't want to think that again. So when that thought comes back, I'm going to capture that thought. I'm going to hold it hostage, and I'm not going to let that thought go from my mind to my brain. I'm not going to let it happen. Okay, y'all got that? Okay, so the last thing that you need to do to get to your goal, and that goal is going to take you to your destiny. Woo! So the last thing you got to do, resilient. You got to be resilient, and you got to be relentless. I love those words, resilient and relentless. Resilient means whatever hits you, you keep on going. You look good while it's hitting you. You just keep on going. You're resilient. Like nothing takes you out, nothing takes you down, nothing bruises you, nothing scars you. You just keep going. Resilient. And relentless is the same thing. Like you just keep on going. You just keep on going. It gets really tough. Your legs get tired. Your feet get tired. Your back get tired. But you keep on going. You keep pressing towards the mark. And that's what it takes to get any goal that you want to accomplish. You got to be resilient. So the key ingredient to being resilient and relentless is giving thanks. Giving thanks. So when you're about to give up because your back is hurting and you're mentally tired and you haven't rested and nobody believes in you, everybody thinks you're going to fail. They've seen you fail 15 times and they think you're crazy for trying it again. Give thanks. Tell God thank you. Tell God thank you anyway. Because the vision that He put in your heart, no one else can see it. So tell Him thank you. Thank you for the vision. And when you get that attitude of gratitude, it won't bother you what people say. It won't bother you that you applied for the loan and got denied. You're going to keep going. You're going to keep going. When you become thankful for the good and bad, this makes your resilience meter go to a 10.